Hey ladies and gentlemen, how you guys been doing? It's your boy Zinu here, and sorry for no Let's Plays right now. I know it's become a bit of a bother to keep on repeating this, but I have some exams and got some finals to look ahead, so I don't really have the mood to be playing Let's Plays and things of that nature basically. So just wait a bit on that until things settle down, and then I can kind of focus on the things that I enjoy doing in the moment, But today I wanted to talk about a movie that I watched yesterday, and it was an incredible movie that I just wanted to talk about and share. Of course, it's gonna be spoils, so you're gonna get spoiled a lot here. If you haven't watched the movie, please do not watch this movie. Of course, I'm gonna talk about the title itself, Avengers, the third movie going against Thanos, Thanos, I believe they call it, and kind of put my perspective on it. I'm not a movie reviewer of any sort. I'm just a guy that watched a movie, and I've been watching a lot of movies in my life, and I felt this one I actually want to talk about. I want to share my my appreciation for the movie and how it was made, and all the bads, all the goods, and kind of give you my take on it. So if you guys have yours, feel free to leave it in the feedback below. I would like to hear it. But yeah, so yesterday it was my birthday basically, and I decided I want to invite some of my friends, pay for some tickets so we can watch this movie. Because the thing about me is that I don't watch cinema movies. I don't only if it's like a special occasion, and most of the latest movies that I watched were actually hero movies. And I have to admit that I haven't watched. I watched the Avengers 1, 2. The Ultron Age, and yeah, Loki for me personally, he was a weak opponent. Very charismatic and very, a character that you can kind of remember, but at the same time very weak. And I'm not about that. When I watch a movie, I want to see my protagonist go against an antagonist that's actually very dangerous. Somebody that they're going to actually need to struggle. And from what I've heard about Thanos is that I may stumble upon his word naming because it seems to be all over the place. Thanos is that he is a mad titan that's known for pretty much killing Avengers a lot of times. From what I heard, I'm not familiar with the comics. I've not been. It's comics. I think they're more in America. You had superhero comics, while we had like things like Asterix and Obelix. It's not the same. We sadly didn't get this kind of things. Luckily enough, we did get anime, Dragon Balls and all the stuff. But yeah, we weren't on the good side when it comes down to comics. Because if I was in the 90s, I would love to read this kind of comics because I'm all about that power and strong opponents. But I have to admit, the way they represented Thanos here, from what I've watched the videos on YouTube from other actual people that really read the comics and talk about Thanos, I wanted to know more about Thanos after reading what he achieved in the comics, originally speaking. And the way they represent him in this movie is brilliant. I'm just gonna say it right now before I even start talking about the movie. If somebody asks me what I would rate this movie, I don't believe in a 10 out of 10. I don't believe in a perfect in general. I think perfect, the more you look into perfect, the more you're gonna get, discouraged and let down. But I believe by a rate that states easy as this. This is my favorite movie, hands down, of all time, since I lived. And I just hit 30 yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. 30 years old right now. And this is, without a doubt, my favorite movie till now. So again, as I mentioned, I'm not too familiar with the scenes of filming and areas of this sort, but I watch a lot of movies, and I have to admit that the CGI in this one was quite impressive. I felt that Thanos, some CGI that was involved with Thanos, they didn't really put it away from his character. He didn't stand out as fake or CGI related to be in a way where you can see, okay, it's clearly CGI. No, they actually really well did it. The whole movie was massive. At first I thought not watching it in 3D, because 3D for me is kind of a gimmick, and 2 hours and a half that a movie had, just timeline of 2 hours and a half is a lot. And I felt, yeah, especially when your friends have glasses to wear. I don't, but at the same time, 3 hours, and this kind of things involved, I didn't felt it was a gimmick that I wanted to bother anybody, especially me, because 2 hours and a half, I mean, not 3 hours, is a lot. And I think 3D for that kind of long, yeah, well, heard some good news about 3D being less of a pain on the eyes because they actually mastered it a little bit more. But I felt, that was something I'm gonna skip. But when I saw all the space, all the scenes, all the massive scenes, I could have seen so much potential in the 3D that I have to admit that if I would have gone watch it again, I would probably watch in 3D this time. But again, as I mentioned, my friends wear glasses and, they had to have lens and all this stuff, so I felt, yeah, I'm also not gonna bother with that. Plus 3D for me is personally gimmick, so I would probably not gonna bother with that anyways. But, yeah, CGI was impressive. I have to admit that I'm a big fan of Thanos in general. Not, for the things that he achieved, but basically of how they actually stage him in this movie, because Matt Titan, in the comics, from what I heard, he wanted to impress his lady love, Death. And Death, from what I've heard, she doesn't really love Thanos. She loves Deadpool. And that there's the basic love triangle kind of problem going on. But thing is that Thanos kind of was killing populations to impress Death, or Lady Death. That's a female in this universe. And that's kind of a bit of a weird, weird take on a character and say, oh, okay, yeah, no, it doesn't sound like a very stable reason to be trying to destroy everybody to impress Death. It's, but what? Love? Really killing everybody because of love? Come on. But this time around, they actually showcased, for me personally, a more mature opponent. Because he actually even had to kill his own daughter in the movie to get one of the 6 gems, stone gems that Thanos, of course, has in his gauntlet. And once he gets those 6 gems, he can just snap his finger, and the whole galaxy can just cease to exist. It's crazy. But that was his plan, basically, to wipe out half of the population, because of his idea of being overpopulated and the starving. He wanted to make more harmony by destroying, like the idea of war. Basically, when there's too much population, genocide has to happen to balance things out. So basically, his take on, the creator's take on Thanos was a little bit more mature on this time, because you can kind of, yeah, it's wrong, the idea of, everybody just goes away, but when you think about it a little bit deeper, Thanos is a deep character in this one. It's actually very deep, and of course people are not gonna agree with the plane of God and just, everybody dies, your plane of taking away your life, but at the same time, the whole idea and the concept is much more deeper, and doesn't make Thanos just a mad titan without, trying to impress some death, come on, it's much more than that. And I have to give them credits, because he even had to kill his daughter, not by birth, of course, basically not by blood. Basically, Thanos is, he basically saved her from the genocide, basically when they were killing her homeland. He saved her that day, but at the same time, she kind of never really forgave him for what he did. The thing is that later on, of course, he actually loved his daughter. He had, he had emotions for his daughter, and that was probably the only person that he really truly cared for in a way that he didn't care for other people outside of his own goals, that he was really sticking to until the end. And at the end, he realized to get the 5th stone, the soul stone, he actually even had to make a sacrifice. And he was a little bit, you can see on his face that he was scared. He kind of felt he knew what was about to happen. Yeah, when what is his name? I'm not familiar with the heroes of this sort. Skull Rider, not Skull Rider, the one with Skull. I cannot remember right now, but he was the one telling him that he has to kill. He has to make a sacrifice of one he truly cares about, and of course, his not daughter by blood, but a person that was with him since she was little. She felt that they won, because he cannot get this 5th soul stone, and basically he's kind of stuck, and he's not going to be full powered, and he cannot just snap his finger and basically half of the population is gone. But it so happened that he actually did care about the little one, and it so happened he actually had to put it through. So it was a concept of completely being different this time around, because he didn't, in the movie he didn't go and press death, but he even had to kill one of the people he actually cared about to gain this gem for the purpose of higher goals, for the reason I stated before, for stabilizing humanity's, in his eyes, humanity's well-being for the future, basically planning for the future, and everybody living in the present, of course, not allowing them to perish, of course, fighting for their life. Of course, Thanos is not going to kill himself, but he's going to kill half of the population, so the stakes are high here. Tony Stark, Iron Man, Spider-Man had some really good chemistry here. Doctor Strange was awesome. I have to go watch Doctor Strange's movie, because again, as I mentioned, I was more into Avengers and Thor, but outside of this, I haven't watched superhero movies as much. I watched the Hulk, some of the movies, but there's a lot of movies I need to watch. I need to watch Black Panther. I'm a big fan of Black Panther's whole city and the people. I just found it very... in this movie right now, I think I'm gonna have a lot of enjoyable time watching that movie. So I'm definitely gonna watch that movie next. But just looking at the stage, looking at how many characters, how many superheroes was on this, I felt 2 hours and a half to represent all the heroes, especially Guardian heroes, Galaxy Guardians, or how you call them. I haven't watched their movies, by the way. Heard some good reviews about it. I still gotta watch so many movies, so I'm kind of new going into this, but I like all the humor in the movie. I didn't feel it was forced. It just felt right. It felt smooth, solid. It really went well. I think it was a great idea to put teams of different sort into different scenes in different places, so you can give everybody, each individual, its own time. And I felt nobody really... Well, there were some people that got more state scenes than others, but there's going to be a second movie, or coming in, of course, continuing. And from what I saw, I didn't felt that somebody really got underperformed or underseen, not having enough scene. Vision and Scarlet Witch were... I felt that those two were really memorable, especially at the end. But I have to mention that the battles were amazing. I can just praise right now all the things I can praise about this movie. There was one particular that I didn't really like, but it was really a nitpick. When looking at the grand scale, I really got nothing bad to say about this movie right now. At least if I would have watched it a little bit more, more times, I would probably see more flaws with it. But I would need to be picky, and I was just enjoying too much to even give it a bother to these kind of things. But as I mentioned, music was amazing, and antagonist Thanos was memorable. It was strong. You can felt, the way he beat Hulk at the beginning, like Hulk was nobody. He only had 2 gems on his hand, on his gauntlet back then, which basically really showcases how strong Thanos is. If he can beat Hulk with 2 only, then there is a different story with 6. He doesn't even have to bother with him. He probably just does this, and he's, basically probably destroys him with 5. If we talk about 6, they just disappear. He just says, yeah, bye. And he just disappears. Thanos is also known for being a Mad Titan, an antagonist that actually is a creative killer. So we saw some very strange scenes with them being like their bodies being completely messed up, and I felt that was something that's a bit different. So because he's got all this reality stone, power stone, soul stone, all this soul gem, power gem, reality gem, all these gems basically, it kind of showcases that he's a creative killer. In this movie, I don't think they at one point he did kind of threw the moon on the... maybe he's a creative. But I think he had even more weirder ways to do that. So I like that creativity in ways of killing heroes, as many as they are. And it's so hard to talk about this because this is not scripted. I'm just talking out of my head. But there's so many stages, so many scenes. I could have easily gone back right now. And it's one of those movies that I would rewatch when the video gets on released with DVDs on August. I didn't want to wait till August, but it's gonna get on August. Definitely gonna watch this movie a couple of times, or at least one time for sure, because it's one of those movies. And I don't say that a lot of just about a lot of movies, but it seems that they really nailed it. This one, just amazing, with so many characters, they being blended in and chemistry being right. It just felt everything was as I expected and more. Actually, my expectations were reached. While I didn't really have expectations as much as probably the fans of the Marvel universe, they know this stuff so much more. I knew like 1%, while others have 90% of knowledge about this stuff. They know, so probably they have like a little bit more expectation. But this is still movies they thought is going to be even more. It's Disney. They have to kind of nail it down. And from what I saw, big spoiler, but I kind of talk about this at the beginning. Spoilers, of course, are going to be involved. Thanos wins. Fucking Thanos wins. And what really make him stand out in this one, I know I'm talking about Thanos a lot, but again, I'm a big fan of Thanos, especially with the idea of what he's doing. While he's bad and they have to defeat him, everybody has got their own reach onto this, and he's not, he's not a complete mental case to be doing it for, as I mentioned, to impress death and killing everybody. He's gonna kill half of the population at least. And from what I heard, Thanos is a person that doesn't want to use gauntlets to the maximum reach. He actually, a lot of times, doesn't use it with maximum potential because he wants the heroes to beat him. Because I think he feels that he isn't worth the gauntlet. So I don't know how they're going to represent this in the movie, if they're going to do this kind of things, because they really did a different take on Thanos. And so they may not showcase this kind of story to Thanos. But that really actually showcases a little bit more deepness, even in the comics. If he actually truly doesn't use his gauntlet to the fullest potential, he pretty much gives him openings for the heroes to exploit. I want to say explode, but that would be bad. Like, heroes exploding would be bad. So, but heroes exploiting his weakness, that is a good thing. And today, I think it was mentioned that he keeps on doing this because he wanted to give an option, an opening, basically. But yeah, the nitpick, I have to mention the nitpick right now, and this is really just a small nitpick, is that the guy that plays in the Game of Thrones, basically, how can I not forget? He's like the best character. It's been so long since I watched it. I'm just gonna say he's a midget. He's basically a very small guy, but here he's a giant blacksmith, from what I can tell in the movie, that wages a new weapon for Thor called Stormbreaker, I believe. Yeah, I believe it's Stormbreaker. It's an axe, actually. It's not a hammer anymore. It's an axe. And I'm still surprised. I actually believe remember these names, because I'm very bad with names of, especially with items. But you see, I don't remember the giant's original actor's name. But I felt it because I from my eyes he was always small. He's normally small guy. I believe he's a 1 meter and 30 or something, 40. He's a very small guy basically, and very charismatic. I know he's gonna play an excellent role, whatever they put him in. He's just a very talented actor. But seeing that he's so big, I felt that the CGI or the special effects were kind of a bit obvious because of this. I felt that, yeah. Plus at the end, is it me only, or did he started to change his voice? Like, I can swear I felt he was changing his voice, making it even more deeper than he has. But I felt it was not really his voice that he was doing at the beginning. But again, maybe I'm just complicated, maybe that was not true, but I felt the special effects, him being bigger, kind of made it stand out a little bit more real than it, like, just a little bit more obvious that he's not that kind of size. Plus, yeah, that was just a little small nitpick, but everything else was just out of this world. It was amazing. I can only praise this movie, especially with the ending. Disney actually had the balls to go out, and that was a reason I wanted to invite my friends. And one of my friends, named David, he doesn't even watch superhero movies, and this was probably his, well, the ones that he watched, this was his favorite one, and he really enjoyed it, and Tomasz also enjoyed it. I didn't had, you know, the one expectation I had, the one prediction I had is that they were probably going to enjoy this movie, because I don't go to cinemas when it comes down to movies that have weak enemies. They either have to have very cool character chemistry, story. Deadpool is one of those movies I would probably go still watch in the cinema. It's on 15th of May. It's actually tomorrow, 2 days after my birthday. I watched Suicide Squad again. It was nice, but this one nailed it. This superheroes movie. This one is a grand motherload of movies, and I think they're talking about putting 10 years into the making of this one, because 20 movies that were in, all of them collide to this right now. And Age of Ultron also had some sort of influence on what's about to happen. And Loki in the first movie had influence from Thanos, that he had to, from what I remember, he had to work for Thanos for the schemes that he was doing. So basically, you really see that everything was connecting to one grand motherlode of awesomeness, and it ended with the old grand motherlode of death. Basically, half of the population was perished. It ceased to exist. I think that was not even turning into dust. They just turned into nothingness. None of them ever existed. I think the way Thanos made it so, and here's the thing, he's not, in my eyes, he's not pure evil. He's not, you know, as I mentioned, he's got his reasons, and the way he actually made them disappear is that they didn't. Well, Spider-Man kind of got emotional. Of course, he's a youngster. He's in his teens. You know, he's a teenager. But you can actually see that he got emotional. But it wasn't pain. It wasn't painful. All this ceased to exist was feeling like it was really painless, and they didn't die screaming like, you know, like they could have had. You know, basically looking at it. I mean, the one that really, or you know, ironically speaking, the one that really had it worst was probably his, you know, Thanos' daughter, and yeah, it's kind of, you know, when you think about it, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Also, for a Disney movie, I didn't expect it. I really did not expect it, because I believe they actually destroyed half of the heroes. I believe somebody said 14 or something. Hulk. People keep on saying Hulk is a bitch right now, that he was a bitch, he was his bitch. If you watch the comics, this is a big spoiler if you don't watch the comics, but just, I'm gonna put it like this, so I'm not gonna spoil it in case this ever happens. But Elder Thanos, the older Thanos, is even stronger than the 6-gem gauntlet, full power-up gauntlet. And from what I saw, he's got Hulk for his personal pet, that he enslaved for thousands of years or something. And Ghost Rider is his left hand or something. It's crazy things going on. So yeah, that Thanos is completely, it's over the top Thanos. You just don't fuck around with that one. I think there are a couple of creations in the Marvel that can beat him, like All Above, you know, One Above All, and all those, you know, those godly, even beyond godly creatures, probably. But Thanos in that level is fucking crazy. And if they ever make that movie like that, I don't think that it would actually end well, no matter what. So, yeah, but that was a spoiler beyond the spoiler that I watched in the comics, because I did watch a lot of the reviewers, and just normally go and dive into the comics a little bit more to kind of get a little bit familiar with the characters, you know, Tony Stark, Iron Man, how many suits he's got, and what he's known for, and his higher intelligence scales, and what made him more intelligent to begin with, his creation, his actual origin of it, and Spider-Man, all the characters, to see even Thor's, you know, mythology ideas of his father Odin and Loki, his brother, and all the characters, to kind of get a little bit more involved. Guardian Galaxy is the one that I just aren't familiar with, but they have a very good influence on me, I have to mention. So I'm probably gonna go watch it, just because the humor is there also. I think they're humorous, especially the captain of it. Well, he's actually very egocentrical. Yeah, he's very egocentrical. At some point, he actually made a mockery with Thor when Thor was talking. He really got a very deep voice to kind of try to copy him, and that was funny. But again, you know, the raccoon guy that Thor was keep on calling him Rabbit, because it seems yeah, my friend said it in every movie they call him something else, and just being called Rabbit, and you know, just in the moments like that, it's kind of silly, but silly humor works for me. And yeah, it just, I'm 25 minutes in, and the one I mentioned is because it was too obvious about the whole giant being, you know, side effect, you know, the special effects being a little bit weaker on that. But the movie is amazing. It's fucking fantastic. I enjoyed it a lot. Hope you guys, you know, if you watch the movie, what is your take on it? From the reviews, it's getting out there. It's also a movie that's very expensive. It cost them 400 million. I think they're gonna put 1 billion to the whole take, which is crazy. I mean, 1 fucking billion. You know, that's fucking insane. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a fucking fantastic movie. I cannot praise it enough. So, with that being said, is there something I want to talk about? Yeah, I think this is a bit of a spoiler. I think Hulk, some people speculate world-breaking Hulk because Hulk survived, and the way he was represented here being Hulk didn't want to change. I think Hulk is feeling scared, and I think Hulk was feeling like a big child being, you know, how do we say, he didn't want to admit he got defeated. He got ruined at the beginning when Thor or Loki or whoever said, we got Hulk. And then, you know, Hulk started smashing Thanos, but then, you know, nobody wanted to bother Thanos because they knew Thanos with 2 gems alone is gonna completely ruin Hulk. And Hulk just got blown away. Somebody saved his life, but still, Hulk just got blown on the planet Earth, and he got shocked. He was traumatized. And so he was also comedy relief. I feel that he played an incredible part of it as a comedy relief, but I think in the second one it's kind of indicating that the Hulk is gonna turn into something. World War Hulk, or even worse, World Breaking Hulk. I think there is an actual even worse. And only that one, I don't know what's called, White Hulk or something. I cannot seem to remember, but I think it's even World Breaking Hulk. There is actually an even worse version. That one is actually on the scale of, I think he could have gone against at least 5 power up gauntlet, but not 6. Thanos with 6 is, again, seeks to exist. Everybody just seeks to exist. But yeah, that's really all I want to say about the movie. I really don't want to make this video too long. It's been 27 minutes, and this is fucking crazy. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you much for watching, and thank you for listening to this video. Take care of yourself. Peace.